was a lack of information about the changes. Whichever system is used in future, public confidence will be crucial.
Wales has been very successful in increasing its organ donation rates. It's also been very successful with its organ donation register, so that we now have well over 30%, I think it's 35% of people in Wales on the organ donation register. We had a marked increase in the number of organs given in the last 10 years, and Wales has consistently outperformed England.
And is that a better way to proceed, through voluntary donations?
It's the ideal and least controversial way to proceed, and one would like to have truly compelling evidence that there's going to be a benefit in changing things. That evidence is not compelling.
But the Welsh Government has been convinced, and it's determined to change the system.
Those people who are worried about what your plans and what you're trying to introduce are saying it's unrealistic to suppose you're going to get many more donors. If something's working, and it is in Wales, why break it?
Well, I don't think it's unrealistic to expect that we will get more organs available for transplantation with this system. We've consulted widely, and the majority of people are in favour of this system. This bill obliges Welsh ministers to have a very wide-ranging and extensive communication and education programme, and I believe the time is absolutely right now to bring this piece of legislation forward.
The average lifespan of a donated organ is about 10 years. What that means for Mark is that the clock is ticking faster every day.
On dialysis, you are literally in limbo, hoping and praying for a phone call. The worst thing is what you're praying for is someone to have an accident, which is probably a bad thing to do as well, because you're praying for someone's misery.
While he tries to live life to the full, he's been having health problems and has had to have tests on his transplanted kidney.
The waiting all the time is probably the hardest bit, really. I just try and think positive. It doesn't always work. Sometimes, you know, when you're on your own and lying awake at 4 in the morning, it sort of gets to you.
The Welsh Government says it's spending £5 million setting up and promoting the new opt-out system. But who'll pick up the bill afterwards?
There is no indication that the Welsh Government is going to necessarily offer an additional pot of money to fund these transplants.
Professor Kerry Phillips warns that in the short term, Welsh health boards could struggle to meet the extra costs of providing services needed for transplanting organs.
The difficulty now in the current climate is that obviously health boards are suffering severe financial restraint. There is very limited spare capacity in the system to be able to engage in new technologies and undertake more and more operations without having savings, having to release resources and make savings elsewhere.
He's worried that this will put more pressure on already stretched hospitals, and without adequate resources, organs could go to waste.
We're already struggling in many hospitals in Wales because of the pressure on critical care beds, on intensive care, which has a knock-on effect on theatre time. We could well see that there will be a system where it's impossible to actually undertake the operation, and in that sense the potential organ may well not actually materialise, and potentially a beneficiary will not receive the benefits that the policy and the bill is seeking to ensure will be the case.
Spain has the highest rate of organ donations in the world. It also has around 3 times as many intensive care beds as Wales. The number of ITU beds here has fallen 5% year on year, which is something Professor John Saunders says places too much strain on services.
I see in my own hospital an ITU that functions at almost capacity the whole time, and trying to squeeze more through it would be difficult. And I'm sure that must be true of other ITUs throughout Wales. Intensivists will have a particular view on that. So there may need to be some additional investment in intensive care and theatre facilities.
So can the Welsh NHS even find the money and the skilled staff to make the new system work?
One of the things you're going to do is to require local health boards to take on the additional cost of providing beds and theatre time at a time when they're already stretched to breaking point to introduce this new legislation. Is that sensible?
Well, we give health boards huge budgets, and they obviously will have to work within that budget. I've already said we're not expecting, hundreds of operations to come out of this, but we do expect many lives to be saved.
Becky Kelly's son Anthony saved lives. His organs have given someone else a chance. But making the decision wasn't easy.
We had to turn the ventilating machine off, and he had to die within a certain amount of time. His heart had to stop beating, and he had to stop breathing in a certain amount of time so that all his organs were oxygenated. And then he did eventually go in that small amount of time. And after he'd gone, they'd asked me whether or not they'd like his handprints and locks of his hair. And of course I said yes. Then I had a letter about a week afterwards saying that he'd saved a young man's life of 32 who's going to get married, and he's got 3 children.
For Becky, her son, and the life he saved, the current system worked.
Well, having Anthony's organs given to other people, to save lives, makes me feel absolutely amazing. I'm so proud of him, and he's so proud of himself. I know it, I feel it inside, how proud he would be of himself for saving these people.
If the law does change, it's not clear how many patients in Wales will benefit. Over the last 4 years, 70% of organs retrieved here were used in transplants outside Wales.
Potentially the greatest con from this is that this idea of Welsh organs for Welsh patients. And Wales is part of the UK, Welsh organs get used in England, and likewise English organs do get used in Wales. But people in England and Scotland and Northern Ireland will benefit from more Welsh organs if we do see an increase in the rate of organ donation. So I think we need to make that clear to people that if there is any increase in the rate of organ donation in the future, there's no guarantee that Mrs. Jones down the road will get the kidney that she needs, because for whatever reason that kidney could be used over the border in Bristol.
The kidney Mark received was from outside Wales. What matters, he believes, is that more organs are available, and if that means changing the law, he'll support it.
I hope, let's put a hope on this, that if we do it in Wales, then other parts of the UK will follow. Because, I would be quite, I would be a little bit grieved if it's only in Wales and it's not anywhere else. And I want it to be Wales, is the one that says, right, okay, we'll go first, you guys follow. And I think they will follow, because I think that people will. Sometimes we need to be led to water, don't we? We all need to be led sometimes. And this is the time, hopefully, we can lead.
If the new policy is introduced, other countries will be watching what happens here. But some feel we're heading in the wrong direction.
The politicians want to be seen to be doing something that's good, and they need a quick fix. But presumed consent, we're told, let's pass it and we'll be there. Let's go the extra mile. Let's do this, let's do that. It's a quick fix, and it's not going to work.
But what leads the debate? Hard facts or sentiment and emotion?
It's almost as though the debate has become one of good and evil, that somehow those people who support a change in the law are good. They're doing their guardian angel bit, looking after those people who need that organ transplantation. And those of us who are somehow against presumed consent are taking a rather evil, nasty approach, because we're therefore getting in the way of people who are dying in Wales because they can't get a transplant. I don't think government has taken the right decision based on the evidence available to it. And you can't have government making decisions purely on emotion. That's dangerous.
Well, certainly I wouldn't say that, guardian angels and evil. I think that's sort of raising the emotion. I can see, of course, it's an emotive issue. It's an emotive issue for a lot of people who are waiting for transplants. I just think this is the right way forward. As a government, we believe it's the right way forward. Certainly a lot of my colleagues in the Assembly across party think it's the right way forward. And if it saves lives, then absolutely it's the right way forward.
Assembly members are due to vote on the new human transplantation bill in January. But the final decision might not rest there. The Welsh Government's authority to change the law could be challenged in the Supreme Court. Some think there's a much simpler way forward.
You don't need to set up an expensive system, pass legislation. Tell everybody that tonight you'll talk to your husband, your wife, your mother, your father, and say, yes, I do, or no, I don't.
Everyone agrees that more organs are needed for transplantation. The issue is how that's done. Now he's 18, Mitchell just wants the chance at life.
It's sad to think people are dying and they could be donating their organs, but because they're not, other people are dying too. And, you know, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want, eventually, you know, if it's 6 months, 6 years down the line, I want to know that there are hearts in the bank. So, you know, there's one for me.
A brighter future is what Mark would like to believe in too. But he's just been told by a doctor that a virus might be attacking his transplanted kidney.
I felt that this kidney being such a good match was going to last me much longer. It was going to be sort of, it might see me out, but it doesn't look as if that's going to be the case. But it could mean that in a month, 2 months, hopefully 4, 5, 6 years, I'll be that person back on the transplant list, waiting for something to happen.
Financial collapse, political revolution,